Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and well, it's that time again to look at some West Coast flea market finds from Scott. And those of you that were wondering where Scott been, because I guess the last things we did was that handy pocket fisherman from Popel. Well, he's been out there selectively adding to his collection, and I guess we have a few folks now that have kind of followed his lead in looking for flea market finds, and I would encourage you to look for flea market finds as well. We've talked a little bit over time about what to look for as you go and seek out a reel, and for example, we had this one. This one is an older one. This is a Penn Seagate. It's one of the first reels they made, and well, it's got a lot of damage on it, right? It's got the broken spool, the broken side plate, and missing screws and the like. Well, if you find something like this at a flea market, it's probably worthwhile buying, because the Seagate was a very early model of the reel. I believe it was 1940. And you might be able to happen upon parts, and if not, there are collectors out there that are actually looking for the parts for them, much like you would be if you wanted to do that. Notice it's missing a couple of side posts here as well. And, well, you just need to be aware that what you're buying, the price you're paying, and the things that might need to be done if you wanted to restore this and actually make it a collectible. Well, Scott has found all kinds of reels, everything from modern reels to kind of certainly less modern reels, older ones or vintage reels. And whenever I get a box in from Scott, I can hardly wait to see what it is that he's found, what I'll be working on, and what kind of video projects may come from them. So let's dive right into this. He sent me 2 boxes. This is the first one. And I always have an affinity for these. I guess it's probably because this is one of the first saltwater reels that I had used. It says saltwater reel. It's a Mitchell 302. And, well, there's a soft spot in my heart for them. This one's working very nicely. It does show the wear over the years of the beatings it's taken. And, well, it's got the planetary gear setup, and it's got the typical things that you would expect of this reel. So I know he sends these in to me to get cleaned and scrubbed and re-lubed and everything. We'll take our time. We'll do this one right, and we'll get it back to Scott. Next one up then is, well, it's one of those ones we were just talking about. We were talking about the early reels. This is a very early one. It's probably the first edition of the Penn Long Beach. You can always tell these a couple of things. Pre-war was wooden handles, squared shoulders, and otherwise things like the crossed hatched on the clicker. I think that probably dates it to 1938. And, well, this is a very beautiful reel, and I'm just trying to read the inscription on it. Other than that, probably need to get my my magnifying glass out. But very early flea market find for Scott, very collectible in that regard. A couple of more spare spools for those Mitchells. And this one I think is probably the bigger. Oh, wow. I haven't seen one of these, quite honestly. I haven't seen one of these. This is a very big Luxor reel. So I know that we have a couple of experts out there. They might want to fill me in a little bit on this one. It's the salmon reel, and this one's got a very large capacity to it. Beautiful condition. Got the I need some grease sound and vibration to it. But other than that, yeah, you can always tell a reel that needs grease and oil. This one's probably been around since the 50s. And I'll do some more research on it. This huge bail, it always scares me when I'm doing it, because you can see it starts all the way on the bottom. It's got a support lever here, winds all the way to the top. Well, look at the size of the wiring on that bail. Just huge. A lot of these have been converted over to the what they call the POOM, the pickup manual reel, and a lot of folks just simply kind of clip the line here and just use it as the pickup manual. That's certainly not something you want to do if you're interested in the collectability of the reel. Well, Scott's got another box. We'll look into that one as well. But if you have any questions on these reels or any reels in particular, if you want to learn a little bit more about the reels, if you want to learn a little bit more about collecting them and the like. And I guess I was wrong. These look like the replacement spools for the Luxor reel and not the Mitchell reel. Okay, let's look at that second box then. That one was certainly fascinating, and Scott, I'm sure you did very well with negotiating. You've gotten a lot better in terms of your selectivity, and I always treasure the reels that are sent in for the service. Well, here's box number 2. And I like when Scott sends these to me because he makes comments like, you know, it's making noise, look at the axle burring noise maybe, and the like. So it's not like he's just out there making just a grab for reels. Sometimes we do that as we search a flea market and find something that's priced reasonably well. First thing we generally want to do is just buy everything. And over time, you learn to become more selective. You learn to trust your judgment and improve your judgment a little bit. And well, this one is a fun one. This is a reel that I personally fish, and I fish it because it's a lefty. It's a left-handed crank. It's a Shimano Bantam, and it's the Mag Plus edition of the Bantam. You can always tell them they kind of have that protruding line guide that comes out. Always fun. Check all the features and functions. Seems to be doing well. Then we have an older Ambassador. This is the Ambassador 5. Not crazy about the 5 series reel, but I believe that there's only bushings in this one, if I remember. Kind of winds like it only has bushings in it. But they made an Ambassador 5. They also made an Ambassador 7, which was a wider and bigger reel. But I'm sure I'll get the story behind that. Here's a very big one. I don't think I've seen the Daiwa in this size. It's the 7850. That's got to be the largest in this series. This is an elementary reel inside. There's not a lot of things going on there, but it does have a ball bearing up top. And this is what we're going to call grease choked. You can tell immediately. You can hardly turn that. And we're going to get that one working and get that one back to Scott. We'll do a video on it, but essentially underneath this one is a basic crosswind gear and block, and we'll see what we can do with that one. Here's a fun one. This is the Shimano Custom 2000. It's a rear drag reel, and there's a lot of fans out there that like the rear drag. Like I don't hate them. A lot of folks tend to say, oh, it's a rear drag, it doesn't have a lot of drag up top, and they're right. It has less max drag on one of these reels than the traditional top drag reel will have. But other than that, these are what I call pond reels. They're very well made, and well, you can fish them forever. So it's got a little bit of a wobble in it. That usually means a bent bail. You can see how it's kind of shaking and wobbling there. Something's a little bit out of skew. No problem. It's not going far, and can certainly be repaired. Well, here's a pair that I know Chris is probably going to get excited about. This is the Daiwa 500C, and it's big brother, the 700C. And Scott is right, it's a noisemaker in there. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's take the click off, you'll hear it better. Sounds like it could be a bearing. We'll find out. We might make projects of them. Very, very ultralight small reels, and the smallest in that 700 series. But even there, Daiwa went to the trouble of putting a hook hold into the bar there. How do you like that? Well, it's probably not a hook hold. I'm thinking it's a hook hold. It's actually the hold for the red little cap that belongs on there. Well, maybe I just invented something. We have some extra space, go make a hook hold. All right, and finally, we've got an older series one. These are very well treasured reels. They still sell for a lot of money today. I don't know what Scott wound up paying for this one. This is the Fluger Rocket, and this is probably the most durable and well made of all of those mid-size reels that were the round bait casters of the day. The Fluger Rocket is just a beautiful reel. It is a what we would call the knuckle buster. The free spool release releases the turn so that you can turn it front and back. When you trip into crank mode, you have the anti-reverse kicking in. Very solid, very well-made reel for ocean fishing. Well, Scott, you found a bunch of beauties here. I can't wait to get started on them. Oh, we even have one hiding in here. Found another old one here. It's missing its side cap. That's unfortunate. This is the Fluger Trump reel. Seems to turn well otherwise. These usually have the cap. I think it's a garnet cap on the other side. It's a garnet cap on this side. There should be one over here. I'm not seeing that. Well, we'll take a look. You know, Bobby, who watches our channel, sent one of these in. I think it was this one. It might have been a True Blue that had a seized side plate. We couldn't do anything with the reel. It may be that we have the side plate cap that can fit from that one. So Bobby, if you don't mind, we're going to see if we can give that Trump reel there a second chance by doing some work on that. Okay, that's the West Coast finds. Wow. So we learned a little bit about what's available out on the West Coast. Southern California. If you check your own local flea markets, wherever you are, I'm sure there are fishing reels available. They may vary a little bit by the types of fishing done in your area, but I'm always amazed by the Southern California ones because there's just such a variety. There's saltwater, big reels for saltwater, right down to little reels for freshwater, and over to classic reels like the Luxor that we saw. Just a lot of variety there, and all of them very well made and sought after. So Scott, you did well with this one. I can't wait to get started. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do to keep us safe. I truly appreciate your career choice and dedication and all the things you do on our behalf. To everyone, if you are near a flea market or garage sale, yard sale, or all of the above, take the time to take a look. You'll be surprised at what you can find. And when you find them, make sure that you service them. You don't know the history behind them, regardless of what the seller may tell you. And, well, just take the time to service it before you take it fishing. And yes, you should take these fishing. I'm not one of these fellas that believes in just sitting them on a shelf somewhere for display. If that's your thing, that's wonderful. But I always believe that reels are made to be fished and should be fished. And especially the ones that you find in used condition like this, just take them out there, learn how to fish the reels. You'll enjoy them, and maybe you'll even catch something along the way. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.